All right, welcome to the May 2025 Tableau Public Tug, everyone. This is our first Eurocentric tug, and we're glad you're here. Let's get the chat started. What time is it where you're at? It's 8 a.m. here in Nashville. Bit early, but glad to be here. Let me share my screen. All right. We're excited to have two amazing Tableau Public authors and one very talented Tableau Public developer joining us today. This is our first tug since TC25. With us today are Marc Reid, a Tableau visionary. He'll be presenting his beautiful South Korea demographics. What did you get out of TC this year, Marc?
Hi, Eric. Yes, I wasn't at TC in person, but I saw some of the devs on stage content and excited for the new analytics pane extensions that are coming in, which are really interesting. And there's also some viewport parameters, which look really cool, like to sync up maps as you move around. So they were the two highlight features for me.
Nice. Rob is with us. He's a first-time Tableau Public ambassador, and he'll be presenting his fun and original Viz paper airplanes. Rob, what did you learn from Tableau conference this year?
I think one of my favorite sessions that I've watched so far it's got to be the Flage Twins one. They always do such fun and interesting things and find unique stuff to do in Tableau. So it's always great to learn different things you can do.
Yeah, I love the speed tipping. I always learn something that I didn't know you could do in Tableau. And Steve Cochrane, a Tableau Public Software Engineer, is in our community spotlight today. He'll be telling us about new Tableau Public features. And someday, we hope that we'll see him on Devs on Stage. Are you looking forward to that, Steve?
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully sometime in the near future. And I've heard from my coworkers who attended this year, they got a lot of great feedback from the community. So yeah,
right.
Thank you.
Let us know if there's anything we can do to help make that happen. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Today, our hosts are Ant Pulley, Agata Ketterick, and myself, Eric Howard. We're all members of the Tableau Ambassador Class of 2024. Agata is joining us from Portland, Maine. Agata first discovered Tableau in 2016. She has many Viz the Days on Tableau Public. Besides being a Tableau Public ambassador and host of our Tableau Public Tug, she co-leads the Northern New England Tug. In her day job as a data visualization analyst at Gannett, Agata loves helping business users find insights in their data in visually appealing ways. What was your favorite part from being at TC, Agata?
Well, there's lots of great sessions, as we all know, but it's just great to connect with lots of different people. So I work remotely, so just even seeing my team in person was really great, but also just the energy and kind of getting more energized by seeing everyone is always my favorite part.
The community, it's the best. Ant is with us today from London. He's a Tableau Public Ambassador Extraordinaire. His latest Viz of the Day was goat butter. Not sure why you did that, Ant, but you can tell us about that. My pictures are a little dated. He won another I Didn't Know You Could Do That in Tableau Vizzy award at conference this year, and he shared it with Sean Adamo. I hope I said that right. Didn't you get a recent promotion at work too, Ant?
Yes, that was about 6 months ago now, so recent-ish, yes.
Firing on all cylinders there, buddy. So, well, thanks for being with us today. We have some really big news. I am so excited to announce that Lisa Trescott has agreed to join the Tableau Public team as our host starting in July. As a Tableau visionary, Tableau Public ambassador, and Iron Viz champion, she's bringing a lot to the team, and we're looking forward to it. Here's our agenda for today. We'll start off with Steve in the community spotlight, and then between Robert and Mark, we'll have a quick swag drawing. So Steve is a Tableau software engineer. He's here to tell us about 4 new Tableau public features: the manual profile organization, see who favorited my viz, ask me about my viz, and the new side panel. Thanks for joining us today, Steve. Let me stop presenting.
Okay, thank you. Let me try bringing up my screen here. Okay, hopefully you can all see my wonderful test profile with lots of test vizzes. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm Steve Cochrane. I've been a software engineer for Tableau Public for about 3.5 years now. So yeah, as Eric just mentioned, I'm going to go over 4 new features we've added to Public so far in 2025. Some of them you might not know about yet. And then I might still have some time at the end for questions. I'm already talking too fast. I need to remind myself to slow down a little bit. Okay, so first is the manual profile organization. So last year, we released the first version of profile organization, which was the most requested feature from the community for years. The first version that came out last year enabled users to categorize their vizzes on their profile using generative AI. And now, after lots of helpful feedback from the community, we've added the ability to manually categorize your profile as well, without any need for using the generative AI if you don't want to engage with it. So this went live in March. So I'll give you a quick demonstration. So I have 10 published vizzes here. 10 is the minimum needed to start using profile organization. That's when this Organize Your Vizzes button appears. So I'm going to go into that. I'm going to click on to Organize My Categories. And it starts pre-made categories of recent and other. So I can just start adding things in. So I've got some Makeover Monday vizzes there. I'm going to start a category for that. And then I just have some tea and coffee categories here. So we have our new categories, and now we can add some vizzes to them. So I'm just going to, so for Makeover Monday, I'm going to click on all of these. We have our 6 vizzes in there. Just going to do some tea and coffee here. Cool. So now we have our 3 categories. And we can also reorder them however we like. So if I want my profile to look fresh, I'm going to put my recent vizzes up front maybe. And I can put Makeover Monday in front there. You can use the keyboard for this as well. And I think that's looking good. So I'm going to click Save here. So auto categorize, this is still here. And you can still use it. One good use for it is if you have a profile that has lots of vizzes, like 100 or more maybe, this can be useful to get you started and get a good initial pass on the categories, and you can combine the automatic and manual approach as well. So you can start with the automatic, and if it's not quite the way you like it, you can then fine tune it by moving some vizzes around, changing some of the categories. It gives you something like that. Cool. So I'm going to click Save, and now I've got my new profile. So I've got the recent Makeover Monday and coffee and tea right there.
Well, I like that you didn't actually have to click on the little check boxes to select them. You could like click anywhere on the line. That was neat.
Cool, thanks.
Small things.
Yeah, that definitely makes a difference. Okay, so next I've got 2 kind of smaller features that we've recently added that I hope will help Public feel even more like a community. So the first one is Ask Me About My Viz. So you've probably been browsing around Vizes before and saw someone's Viz that really impressed you, or saw some technique that you hadn't seen before and maybe wished you could ask the author how they did that. So we've added a feature just for that. So if it is disabled by default, just for privacy, but I'm going to enable it for my profile here. So I'm going to go to Edit Profile. So under Contact Me, there is a new Display and Ask Me About My Viz button. So I'm going to enable that. And just like the Hire Me feature, you can set a different email address if you want emails to go somewhere else. I'm just going to keep that and click Save. And now, for anyone going to any of my Vizes, there is a new Ask Me About My Viz button in the top right. And if you click on that, this should give you something very similar to what we have for Hire Me as well. So I'm just going to say, hello, how did you do that with the Viz? You can do very detailed messages on this as well. Eric asked me the other day, and I found this has a 10,000 character limit, so you can write some pretty long messages in here if you want to. It's not that limited.
Nice.
And oh, okay. Of course, it's making me do that during a presentation. Oh, come on. Yes. Okay.
You're a robot.
Yes. I am a robot. Okay, trust me, when you clear that, it will give you the nice confirmation. And then, yeah. Cool. So that's Ask Me About My Viz. See Who Favorited My Viz. That's another one. So I'm going to go to my profile here. This is something that everyone has disabled. So for a long time, you've been able to see who is following your profile and find people with related interests that way. But until recently, for people who have favorited your Vizes, you've always just had a number there. So what we've done now is to add, so if you go to the More Actions button, there is a new See Who Favorited My Viz option. And this will give you a new modal dialog that will list all of the different profiles or the different users who have favorited this Viz. And you can click to view any of their profiles, or you can easily follow and unfollow just from this modal dialog here. So hopefully another way to make connections on public. And the last one, so I'm going to talk about the new side panel. So this is not actually fully enabled for all of our users yet. It's still pretty new. And actually, my browser does not currently have it enabled. So I'm going to put in a little cheat code here to actually enable that. So if you have seen this before, and it will be enabled for everyone pretty soon.
I didn't realize I was special.
Yeah. So yeah, there is this new sidebar here. And if you are on a Viz page, this will give you a list of recommended Vizes that are similar to the current Viz. So you can explore that way. We have had that briefly before beneath the Viz. Now it's in a more easy to reach location. And if you are on any other page in the site, it will give you the trending Vizes list, which was still is on our homepage if you don't yet have the side panel, that was on the homepage before. And now it is over here. So yeah, we are definitely interested in hearing feedback on the new side panel and like what sort of content you might want to see in there. We did, looks like I just lost my feature flag there. We did recently respond to some feedback we got initially about closing it and keeping it closed. So we now have a clear close button here. And we were storing the closed state differently depending on which view you are, but now it's more global. So it shouldn't pop up anymore if you've closed it.
I love that you can close it because sometimes it can be a bit wide on like my laptop and all.
Mm-hmm.
I found it really helpful the other day. We were trying a themed tug for the future, and I was looking for vizes about a specific thing, and it kept putting up, related vizes over there. And it's like, oh yeah, that's good, and that's so it really helped search for things on that theme. So, been very helpful.
Great. Okay, that was all I had to share. Yeah, if you have any questions or feedback for me or the team, please, you can feel free to ping me on the Tableau community Slack as well. I can either try to answer or pass it along to our product managers. So yeah, it's been, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, it's been great to be here. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks. And we look forward to see you on Devs on Stage, Steve. There are no questions in the Slack, so we will move on to our next topic. So up next is Robert Anagata, and he will be presenting his paper airplanes viz. So take it away, Rob.
Cool. I think it's me rather than Agata.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Just so you're not surprised by me speaking. So yeah, I'll do a very brief intro to Rob. I've known a little while now, and lucky enough we've bumped into each other at quite a few Tableau events recently. So Rob works for JLL as a specialist BI analyst, and it says here you're still on the Rolls-Royce account, which sounds pretty swish. So that's good. And you just finished your first year after 16 years in rail, in a rail company. So you're quite a long time Tableau user, 10 years or so, but actually only about 3 years. I say only, still a long time, but 3 years in the actual Tableau community. And as we said earlier, first year as Tableau Public Ambassador, and by the sounds of it, you're embracing it all so far. 4 visitor days, and what I love about Rob's profile is it's very much after my own heart. It's having fun, it's learning new things, it's seeing what you can do in Tableau. So it's always really exciting to see what Rob comes up with next in his visuals. So I shall pass you over to take us through some paper planes.
Thanks, Ant. Yeah, and yeah, it's like you say, we do a lot of business dashboards at work, which are set and structured that we have to do. So my Tableau Public definitely a lot of fun. I just want to go and do things that you wouldn't normally get to do. And that's kind of what a lot of it's based on. And you're a big inspiration to that, to be honest. I've seen all the stuff you do. So yeah, it's thanks for the introduction. So yeah, as Ant said, I'm just going to give you a run through of my paper airplanes viz, which got viz of the day on 24th of Feb this year. I think it's probably one of the funnest projects I've done in a long time, partly because I ended up doing it with my son. He often sees me building vizes for work and things like that, and he's always really interested. So involved with it just sort of made it quite special for me and really interesting. The team asked for a fun fact before we started. So I'm a huge data geek, love Tableau, love Alteryx, love all data prep and things like that. But I'm also a huge Captain America geek. I collect Captain America bobbleheads, and much to my son's annoyance, they all stay in their boxes on a shelf. So he's desperate to get his hands on them and play with them, but I don't let him play with them. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just through and through the real core, which I love. It's great doing this kind of stuff. So my paper planes viz, what was the inspiration behind it? For Christmas, my boss got me a paper plane a day, fold a day calendar. So every day is a different plane, which you take out the sheet and you fold it. And as you can see, you get a little instruction sheet. You're using a previous paper and it teaches you how to fold the plane and make all sorts of different ones. And I love flying things. I love like little puzzles and things like this. So it was, I thought this is great fun. And I was talking to my son about it and we wanted to do it together. So we were folding them together. And then when the new year started and we started, I was telling my boss that we were doing it together, and she sent me this message. She said, will there be a spreadsheet and a viz to go with your planes? And instantly it sort of clicked. I said, yeah, brilliant. This is the the viz I can do with my son. We can actually make this into a viz, collect some data on it, and just do something together. Obviously get them at a young age, get them into data viz, and then they'll never leave. So that was how it happened. That's why we decided to build the viz around it. And obviously I discussed it with him, and we came up with an idea. And the idea was, so every day we had a plane, we were going to build them. So we took it in turns to build them. He'd build it, I'd build it, and we rate how hard it was for each plane to build. So we're going to scale it on how technical it was. Some were easy, some were a couple of folds, some weren't. So we sort of had a little sliding scale of 0 to 5 of how difficult we thought it was to build. So we collated that data. And then what we also did, we set a little mark from my office door down the hallway of the house, which did become challenging for some of the planes that didn't want to go straight. But we then used our high-tech household tape measure to measure how far these planes would go. So I think as data collection goes, this is probably one of the funnest data collections I've ever had, building and flying planes with my son and measuring how far they went. And this is where the data came from. There wasn't a huge amount to it, as you can imagine. It's just the dates, the names of the planes, our rating of how easy they were to build. And then the only 2 numbers we sort of needed after that to plot out this idea was how far the plane went down the corridor and how tall we both were. In the end, we built it based on my son's height because it kind of ended up being his viz. So the idea was, by having the height of the throw and the distance of the throw, we'd have XY coordinates, so we could then transfer that across to Tableau using map layers and XYs, lats and longs, that kind of thing. So yeah, really, really simple data set for this viz. The only other thing I did add was, because when we were planning this through, he drew a little picture of how he wanted the viz to look. So he drew a little boy throwing planes, and there was loads of lines going in arcs. He said, that's what we're going to build, Daddy. And I instantly panicked because I'd never built curves in Tableau before. I wasn't really sure how to do it. But I did a bit of digging, and I'll bring up some links shortly. And there's loads of great tutorials on how to do these kind of things. So I soon realized we needed some data densification additions to this data set. So these were the 2 data sets we used, the XY coordinates of the planes, and then this set data densification list, which is just a points from 1 to 48, all with different numbers attached to them, so the curves can be created. So yeah, like I say, probably the funnest data I've ever gathered. So I'm not going to do too many more slides. I'm going to actually jump into the viz and talk you through how it was all built. But before we do, like I say, there was resources that I needed to look at to understand how to do some of the things I did. And that's the beauty of the community. There's always someone out there that's done really clever things, a lot smarter than me, and they've already worked out how to do it. They've written blogs, lots of different things on it. And these were the 2 that I used. So CJ's radial chart, which appeared in the viz, I did a very similar thing replicating his template. And Brian Moore has got a great blog on how to build curves in Tableau, and particularly the Bezier curves was the one I was using for the throw. So it's he talks all about the mathematics and what calculations you need to do it and things like that. I'll be 100% honest, even though I was pretty good at maths at school, it still sort of boggles my mind a little bit what's going on with some of these sigmoid calculations and cos and sine and things like that. But again, the beauty of these tutorials is they walk you through step by step exactly what it is you need to do. So yeah, definitely recommend checking out those 2 blogs. Okay, so let's jump into Tableau and look at the viz. But before we go over to Tableau, here's what the viz looks like. And again, the idea was, because we were building origami, we wanted to come up with an origami style viz. So we wanted the viewer to be able to unfold it as if they were looking at some origami. But in the end, there's only 2 real main bits to this viz. We've got the boy throwing the planes, which go into the streams, and then they come down into this little funnel, which we wanted to then spread out so the user could get a good idea of how far each plane went. Obviously, you've got the distance markers along here, so you can quickly see which was furthest and shortest. But we also wanted to do it by days of the week and days of the month, sorry. So as you go around the month, you can also see how that impacted the throwing distance, and whether which day we were throwing on it impacted it as well. Were we tired one day and so didn't throw it as well as we could have done? But yeah, so there's two main parts. There's the main boy throwing the planes, and then there's the radial part up here. The only other things on it are a couple of bar charts and a couple of text things to add a bit more context to it. So we'll jump over to Tableau and I'll walk you through some of the main bits that I used to build it. Okay, so what we had two main sheets, like I said, and within the main throwing sheet, there are 8 map layers, which I built out to create all the different parts of that radials and the chord chart and the aeroplanes and things like that. So for each one, I basically have just used map layers to plot those X and Y coordinates. The only thing I did before I started generating all of it is that I had to normalize the data slightly, so that if anything went beyond the parameters of longitudes and latitudes, they disappear off map layers. So you have to sort of bring it back into scope of what you can do. So using normalization just allows you to put anything you want on the view. So let's start at the beginning. What was the first thing I needed? I needed a distance guide. I wanted something along the floor line that would show the viewer how far the planes were going. Turn that one back on. As you can see, it's just a simple straight line which starts at the smallest point of the shortest throw, and it goes to the furthest point of the furthest throw. And to do this, all I did is I set up a map layer using MakePoint. And within this, it's just looking at the distance that my son threw it. It's dividing that by the maximum distance to give that normalization. And then for the Y coordinate, I've just set a set number of minus 0.05 because I wanted it to be just below the bottom of where all the planes would be landing. So we're imagining 0 is the floor, X is how high it is and where it starts and stops. And for this one, I want it just below so that the planes look like they're landing on the floor and hitting the guide. So a straightforward XY plot to put that on. And when you plot it on, it just puts this line out, puts all the different dots on there for the different planes, but I've removed those shapes so it just looks like a measurement line. So the next thing we then wanted to work out how to do is how to get those planes look like they were being thrown by the boy on the screen. So if we open that one, this is where this Bezier curve comes in from Brian Moore. So again, it's a straightforward idea. We are starting at the point of 0 on the x-axis and then the height of my son. So it's all coming from that same throw point. So it looks like the boy's throwing it. And then they're all ending at the 0 point along the y-axis. And then depending on how far each plane went in our measurements, they all have their different positions along there. And again, if we go into the make point for this one, it's slightly different to the other one. But what we're doing is we're working out the X, the maximum X and the maximum Y against each other. And to do that, we've used Brian's Bezier curve calculation. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier, I don't 100% understand why everything's doing what it is in this calculation, but the beauty is you don't need to understand it. You just need to make sure you're plugging in your right bits to the different data sources and getting the right things. But essentially what it's doing is taking from your first point to your end point. It's using all those densifications to arc around the point, so it goes in a smooth curve rather than just a straight line point to point. And it uses the densification numbers against the points and the midpoint to, you can tell it how far you want the midpoint to be to change how extreme the curve is. So yeah, another map layer to add on the curves. The next step we wanted it to look like the planes were landing on the floor. So this is where we brought in the endpoint, and we just used a image for this one. So I just created some paper airplane shapes on an online Photoshop and slightly changed the angles of them a bit so they all look like they're hitting at a little bit different angles depending on how far they're going. So it looks like they've been thrown. And again, this is a similar story. We're using MakePoint again. We're using the maximum distance for each one against the normalization. And then the Y end point is just our set 0 point. So yeah, I've just I hard coded it in a different calculation just so I didn't have to keep typing it out. So yeah, and if I changed it when I added all my layers and things were skew if, it just meant I changed it in one place. But yeah, in essence, it's just finding the distance, finding the 0 point and adding an image. Next thing we wanted to do was then sort of bring this all back down into a funnel. So it sort of looks like they're all being collated and then spread out into the chord diagram. So we created a sigmoid curve for this one. And again, Brian's tutorial has all the calculations you need if you want to work out how to do sigmoid curves, but they use a similar principle to the Bezier, except they curve around in more of an S shape, let's say. And with it again, it's a similar story to before. We're using, we lost it down here, there, but sigmoid. It's just using the X and Y of how far the plane's going versus the sigmoid calculation, and that's the bit over here, which yes, more mathematics, which I'm sure Brian's tutorial will explain better than I'll try and butcher it, so I won't go into the details of that. But as you can see, we're now starting to, just by adding single layers at a time with all the different points in this one view, we're starting to build up all the different bits of how the viz looks to get it to create this story of show these planes going across distance and then funneling down. So the final few steps of it were then to create a chord chart. Like I said, we wanted to spread it out, make it look like it was a month in a circle, so we could see as the month progressed, did the distances change over time. And I wanted it to stand out a bit better, so we went for having a background. So they were all equidistant backgrounds. That's what the background layer is. And that was just a chord diagram spread out that for every day of week, they've all got the same distance. And the reason we did this, we wanted to show when we add on the next layer of how far each one went compared to the rest. So you can get that insight into, is it as far as the one next to it, or the previous day, is it the furthest, that kind of thing. So the background is just a set calculation that brings them all together in the same distance. And then the power comes when we add the next one. It adds on top the distance for each of those planes. So this one's using the chord diagram. There we go. And again, this is using the Bezier curve functionality, again, to create that curve. And the only reason I've added slight offsets here is because I wanted it to, I had to line up the funnel with the middle point so it all looked like it was coming into, let me close this for it, so it all looked like it was coming from this point. If I hadn't have had the offsets, it was just slightly to the right because of the way the calculations were working out. So yeah, the beauty with map layers, you can tweak them and add little fixes in to move things around however you need to. The clever bit of this calculation, to make it look like it's going a different distance along, what I did is I used a ranking system within it. So within here, it looks at the points to use, and the points to use filter basically, which one? Where is that one? I should have been zooming in on some of these calcs. I've just realized, I apologize. So what it's doing here, it's looking at how far the flight went versus the maximum distance it could have gone, each plane. And then it times it by how many points there are within our densification. So we had 48 points, and it's basically finding what percentage of those points it's used to work out how far along that curve it needs to go. So if the maximum distance was 100, it only went 50 centimeters, it would only find 50% of the points to use in that filter. So it's using a filter system based on each plane to then go, I only want to use 50% of the points along here to color. So the rest are all showing, but they're nulls, so they're hidden afterwards. And it makes it look like it's filling up that chord diagram coming out. And the final couple of bits, I wanted to add a little marker at the end of the fern, so it looks like you've got somewhere to hover over. And the reason we did this, we wanted the ability for the user to look at each plane, see what it looked like. We'd taken pictures every day so you can see what we'd built, what kind of plane flew well, didn't flew well. Yeah, just a bit more insight into how well each plane did. And then finally, I didn't like the way I got the lines to join together. I couldn't quite get blended. I could have created a whole curve that went all the way around, but at the point it was beyond my skill set, so I cheated and just put a little dot over the top so it looked like it was all coming to one point. Some of the best things you can do in Tableau are hacks which get you around difficult situations, but in this case it worked for me. So so if we jump back to the Viz, I'll just have to hide the axes. That's what it then looked like. So everything in here apart from this title here and the background is all built in Tableau. It's lots of different floating images and numbers and things like that. I try to build as much as I can in Tableau. I think it's a good challenge to try and create all the different things, but sometimes you just want a funky background or a funky title to just add that bit of pizzazz. And one of the two tools I use the most for that is a tool called Canva. There's a free and a paid version, but the free one you can build and design pretty much anything you want. It's very much like Figma, but the slight difference I found with Canva, I found it easier to use, and you can do lots of animation things as well. I've done in some other Vizes where you can animate things so they look like you're moving and then save them as URLs and bring that into your Viz. But yeah, so everything's Tableau built. The last sort of couple of good hacks in here, which, well, not hacks, good Tableau tips to get the unfold. The way we did it, the way I did it, I really wanted it to move and animate, but it was too difficult to fix all the points to do that. So I did a simple dynamic zone visibility hiding. So this is just a gray sheet that matches the background I had. And I added a button which was doing a true or false. So whenever this button's clicked, it is turning from true to false and vice versa. And all that's doing, it's just hiding or unhiding this sheet that's over the top. But it gives that impression of the Viz is opening up for you. It's then giving you all this extra wealth of information to investigate and play with. I'll touch on it briefly, but I won't go into too much detail. The radial that I copied from CJ's template, this again is using 6 map layers. There's lots of, it's simple to add the layers together, but there's a lot of calculations going on in the background to create these circles and having it the right widths and things. But in essence, you've got something creating the green cone, you've got something for the outline, something for each of the rings, and then something for the circle. But I definitely recommend looking at his tutorial for that, because it's a fantastic looking chord chart and you can tweak it and change it. I added a few extra details to it, but in essence, it's a great template to copy and it's a good looking chord chart. Okay, any questions? I've been rambling on a bit. You good so far?
We've got there's a comment about you should have got a Vizzy award. I think that's true. No, there was a question around have you got any resources for how to use map players, or what have you used in the past?
Yes. So it's one of those things that I've been putting off for ages. It kind of scared me. I didn't really understand what was going on. And I came across Sam Parsons' blog. He's done a 3-part map layers blog. I can dig out a link and we can share it. But in the first one, he explains what map layers are and the history behind them and why they were invented. They weren't invented for this kind of thing, but the community, as they always do, they hack the Tableau things and make them better and how we want to use them. But so his first blog explains the ins and outs of map layers, and it also walks you through a basic tutorial of creating a bar chart with map layers, which explains why you need densification, why you need normalization, things like that. And then the second 2, he takes it more advanced each time. But yeah, definitely give those a read. After I'd gone through those, it sort of opened my eyes to what you can do with map layers and Tableau, and everything I build seems to be with map layers now. Don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I just the possibilities with them just seem to be endless. You can create anything pretty much. I'll just jump back to my presentation quickly. So yeah, or just as I said, just is a bit of details, but yeah, Canva is great for creating backgrounds and imagery and things like that. And another resource which I use all the time is Coolers. Within there, it's got contrast checkers and palette generators. The contrast checker particularly is great if you are putting different colors on top of each other. You can set your background color, and then you can choose the color you're going to use for your font, and you can move it around and it will tell you at what point it's good or bad to use against that color. So I use that all the time when I'm trying to, it's one of my pitfalls, colors. I always struggle to get the right balance between things standing out or being the colors I actually want to use.
Nice. I agree on the color front. I struggle with the same problem. So coolers is I think I've used that a number of times. I also love your cheat comment and how you can, and again, something I do all the time, but it's like usually if something looks super perfect on Tableau, someone's probably cheated somewhere to cover something or put a blocker so you can't see the little map icon or whatever it might be.
Oh yeah,
so
little blanks everywhere. That you,
no,
Very cool.
They're really cool, really cool. Just check.
I've never heard of that coolers resource before, so I'm gonna definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really, really good and powerful as well. It can even pick out palettes for you as well. You can put an image of something you want to, if you like the colors of it, and it'll give you a palette from it, which is great.
So it's a palette specific to Tableau. You can just put into your preferences.
I think you'd have to put the codes.
Is it the hex?
It gives you the hex codes and things. But
that's good enough.
I think obviously with the new features coming in Tableau, where they're going to generate palettes anyway, aren't they? So it's that will make life easier.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much.
That was awesome. A lot of people were duly impressed in the chat there. All right, so if you'll stop sharing, I will take over for a bit. It's time for our Tableau swag drawing. I just realized I need to update my example wheel here because we have new Hall of Fame visionaries that I need. But that's for another date. So I have loaded everybody into the wheel. So let's see who our winner today is. Christy or Kurt? It's Kurt. All right, Kurt Westra. Let me send this. If you will email tablowpublictug.com, we will follow up with you and help you get your swag ordered on the Tableau online store. So thank you. And next up is Mark and Agata. So I will let them take over.
All right, awesome. So it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Marc Reid. So Marc is a data analyst and data visualization designer based in London. He's been using Tableau since 2017 and holds both desktop and server certifications. Marc is known for pushing the boundaries of what Tableau can do. He's an active contributor to the beta program and often shares his insights to help shape the future of the product. He's also passionate about sharing his knowledge, regularly posting tips, tutorials, and how-to guides on his blog at dataviz.blog and on his YouTube channel. I've definitely found his blog really helpful for figuring out more than a few Tableau challenges, so I highly recommend checking it out. And Marc is also a Tableau Visionary Hall of Famer and a longtime leader in the Tableau community. So today we're in for a treat as Marc takes us through one of his Tableau public visualizations, the population density and demographics of South Korea. Let's take it away, Marc.
Great, thanks, Agata. I'll just share my screen. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining, and looking forward to walking through this visualization which I created last year. So I'm just going to kick off with some inspirations. Eric and the team are asking about inspiration for visualization. So one of the things that I'm quite passionate about is travel, and obviously visualization itself. So the two of those together have been the inspiration for a few of my vizes that I've created. I'll just share a few of those for background. So this one was looking at travel routes, or some travels that I did a number of years ago, with a map of the route and the circle showing the amount of time spent in each place. And then there was some pop-ups for some other metrics. This one was looking at Indonesia and the coral reefs there. So Indonesia is an amazing place. It's made up of over 17,000 islands, and they have a large amount of coral reef, some of it which is under threat. And you can see the protected areas and coral bleaching. So a few different views there. And end of last year, I went to Bhutan. So there's another travel-rated viz looking at when I searched for some information on Bhutan and different articles, it came up that they were mining Bitcoin there. So they have some excess energy which they create from hydro, so natural resources. So they use the excess energy to mine Bitcoin. They have quite a lot of Bitcoin, over $1 billion worth apparently. So that was an interesting exploration to that country. So earlier last year in May, I went to South Korea. So again, there was an opportunity to build out a viz, travel-related viz. So went online and searched for some information, and a lot of the stories that come up were all about Korea's population. It's declining fertility. It actually has the lowest fertility rate in the world, apparently, at 0.7 at the time. So I found a number of different stories and did a bit of research, and then started to dig into the data that was available for that. And that led on to creating this visualization. So in terms of the story design, I wanted to kick off with just a brief introduction, and I referenced one of the articles that I found, which was on the BBC. And I put this quote in the top of the viz, which was South Korea's population is on track to halve by the end of the century, which is kind of a frightening fact there. It's actually been declared a national emergency in Korea now. They're doing lots of things to try and reverse that trend. So then I present a number of charts related to the population trends, and have a couple of maps as well, just to show the context of where the population is and the population density. So this is the final viz that I came up with. So most of the data for these charts came from the World Bank, and we'll look at that in a second. And then on the left, we have the map. So you can see the high concentration of people around the Seoul area. So actually about just over 50% of the population of South Korea live in the Seoul metropolitan area. So that was what highlighted on this kind of zoomed in version. So you have kind of a context map of the whole country. You can see some of the other countries where there's population centers such as Busan and other cities, and then the large focus of population there in Seoul. Okay, so we'll look at a few things. We'll look at the World Bank data. So in case no one, if you haven't used that before, it's a really great source of data, very well structured. So if you've not used that before, we'll just walk through how you can get to that. We'll look at using Mapbox as well. So I use Mapbox in a few visualizations. I find it quite helpful to build custom maps. Again, if that's not something you've used before, it's a really great resource. And then finally, we'll look at just how you can build these population pyramids. I think we probably won't look at the other charts. They're fairly straightforward, just kind of line and bar charts, but that'll be the focus for today. Okay, so in terms of sourcing the data, so as I say, I've used mostly World Bank. There's a couple of other sources as well. So Contour is where I go for the density polygons. I'll show you that site in a second. And then COSIS was just a specific site for the Korea population density trend, which wasn't available on the World Bank, and then various user guide tools. So let's say World Bank is a very good source. It's very clean, well structured, easy to download data. The only issue you can find with some is that for some of the countries, they may have missing data in earlier years, or for some of the indicators that they have. So just to be aware of that. Okay, so this is the site. We can actually jump over to the site. I'll show you. So there's various entry points into this. You can go and explore data and resources here, and then you can start to search by theme or topic or by country. But that will take you to individual indicators. What I found the easiest thing to do is actually just search for, if you're doing a viz on a particular country, you can just search for the name of that country and select that, and it'll bring up all of the indicators for that particular country, which you can then download. So you can download into an Excel format, for example. You click the download button, and that will give you a spreadsheet, which we can have a good look at. So this is the spreadsheet that you'll get. And you can see there's a ton of indicators here. So we're going down to the bottom of this page. There's over 1,500 indicators, from all things from trade, population, all kinds of things, you know, health indicators, et cetera, et cetera. So for example, if we just search for population on here, it'll just show you all of the population indicators. So these are some of the ones that I used for the visualization. And you see there's some data missing on some of these. So you just have to scan through and use the ones that are available, obviously. So just jump back to our site here. There's also, there is an API as well. So if you want to download data for multiple countries and multiple different indicators, you can use this API as well. And I have used that a couple of times, probably not going to get into that today, but ChatGPT is quite good at helping with using that as well. So if you did want to do that, that's a good entry point to that. Okay, the other thing we've used is Mapbox. So again, I'll just jump out to the site here. So to get the spatial files with the population data, I use this site, which is HDX. And to find the population density, what I tend to do is just put the country name and then I search for contour, which is a particular source there. And if you search that, and what you're looking for is population density and then hexagons. So you'll see this is the one for example, Ireland I'm looking for here. So you click that link and it will give you a quick preview. And if you scroll down, there's different versions here. This is 2022, this is 23. So you just pick the most recent one and you can download that there. And then what you can do is bring that into Mapbox. So this is Mapbox, mapbox.com. So you can just go there and you can set up an account for free. Once you've done that, you'll take you into your home page there. And then what you can do is create a new style. So just click on new style here. And then what I tend to do is go to the area that I'm interested in. So you can just, that's the one that I've downloaded the file for. And then you can actually upload. So it starts off with a base map. I'm just going to make this grayscale. And then what you can do is add a new custom layer. And then here is where you can upload your data that you just downloaded from the HDX site. So you click upload data and then you drag and drop it in here. I'm not going to do that today because it can take a few minutes to process the file, but I've uploaded one previously. So here's the same file that I would have just downloaded from that other site, which is the Ireland pop hex data there. And then just click on that. And then that should pop up, which it's not for some reason. See, oh, there we go. So it's all coming up as black at the moment, so we need to change that. So what we can do is go to style across data range, and then that will allow us to pick interesting, I might have picked the wrong file there actually. Oh, that's interesting. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. So now you've got one of the fields in that spatial file that I downloaded is called population. And then what you can do is apply some colors to those. So you can start off, for example, in light red and take it up to, let's say, dark blue, something like that. A bit darker. Yeah, there we go. So that is now styled to show the range of population in each of those hexagons. And then what you can do is publish that. So we'll just publish that as a new file, done, and then you can share that. And then if you scroll down and go to third party and click this drop down and go to Tableau, you can then copy this address here, and that's what you'll use in Tableau. So if we go over to Tableau now, and I have to admit this did give me an issue earlier, so we'll see how we get on. And in Tableau, if you go to background maps and add a Mapbox map, you can give it a name. I'll just call this Ireland. Let's call this pop. And then you just paste in the URL that you copied from Mapbox. And we'll see if this works. Okay, so I had the same issue earlier on. It just wasn't working for some reason. So sometimes it does is it kind of times out. So you might just have to come back and reload that, but that should work. Let's see if we go to, let's try to South Korea and I'll load up my other map, see if that works. So let's just change this to normal again. Go back to the site, see if we can get this working. And I'll copy my South Korea map here. Let's copy, go to third party again, Tableau, copy that. And we'll try and use that in here, see if this works. Ground map. add a map box map again. I'll just call this temp. There we go. So that's working now. Okay, so now we're using Mapbox to generate the map for the background in Tableau. And it's quite nice because now you can see we've only got one mark in here. It's not loading up loads of marks, so it's quite quick actually, a bit quicker than if you'd try to load this all up in Tableau. You can see it's quite quick to respond. So that's one of the advantages of using Mapbox in this way. So let's jump back to our presentation here. So that's how you can include some Mapbox maps in Tableau. I know I jumped through quite a lot there. I do have some blog posts on that. So on my site, there's a Mapbox data visualization blog, and then also getting started with using Mapbox as well. So I stepped through all of the steps I just went through, with all the dialogues and screenshots and things. So, and of course, Mapbox itself has various help pages and tips and what have you to help you there. So don't feel you're a bit lost there. That was a bit rushed. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is creating these population pyramids. So let's bring up Tableau. Okay, so the only thing I've done here just to get started is I've just filtered the indicators because there's quite a lot of them, sort of 20 or so. And the reason that is there's one row per year per indicator, and the indicators are for each age group and 5-year bands of ages, and for male and female. So hence that's why there's so many indicators. And if I bring those onto the screen here, so in case you don't know this, if you have something on filters, if you want to copy a pill, you can click and hold down the control key, and that allows you to copy that in there, keeping the filter as well. So the first thing we want to do is pull out the ages from all of these different indicators. So I just want to get 0 to 4 or 5 to 9, etc. And to do that, we're using this calculation, which basically takes the left 21 characters from each indicator, which is from the P up to the end of the last number there. And then it takes from that, it takes the right 5 characters. So that's basically these 2 numbers, the dash and the 2 numbers. And then just because at the end here, it's a little bit different format, so I had to do something else to just replace that. So if we bring that in at the front there, you'll see that's what it does. It just pulls out all these age groupings here. The next thing we want to do is pull out the gender, and that's a little bit easier. So another calculation for that. And that is just scanning the indicator now, and it's looking for the word female, and if it's there, then it returns female, otherwise returns male. So we can bring that out as well. Okay, so then we have the age groups and the gender, so we can now remove the indicator, we don't need that. Okay, and if we bring out our values now, so these are all in percentages, so these should total 100 for each year, so that's why these numbers are quite high, because we've got every year here. So we need to filter the years now as well. So I'll bring those out. We're going to select year, and we're going to do every 10 years. So 1990, 2000, 2010, and I'll actually do the most recent data available, 23. Okay, so the numbers have gone down. We can actually now bring in the year to the top here as well. And then if we bring on, we'll just swap these around. So we've now got female, male, and for each age group. So let's just double check. If we bring out totals now, these should all equal 100, which they do. So these are the percentages for 1990 for each age group. Okay, great. So that's good. So now if we bring out the values from text onto columns, we're now starting to form this pyramid now. And instead of having the gender split here, we can bring that onto color. So we're starting to form the pyramid. Is looking a bit better, but what we want now is to have one of these values be negative and one positive. So the way we can do that is using this calculation, and this just looks for looks at the gender and says if it's female, then make it negative. Otherwise, just leave it as a positive value. So what we can do now is replace that. So again, it's a little tip if you don't know, if you drag a value and just hover over the top, you get that black background, and when you do that, you can just drop it and it will replace the value. Okay, so we have the pyramid here, and the only thing I wanted to do now, which is a bit different to In the final viz, I have fewer age groups because there's kind of just a bit too many there. So instead of having 5-year age bands, I bring that to, I think it's 10 years. So I have another calculation to do that here. And this just grouped them up from 0 to 4 and 5 to 9 come into 0 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19 come into 10 to 19, and so on. So again, we'll swap that calculation over here, drop that pill on top. And then we just need to reorder these. So to do that, we can just sort the values in this field. Now we're going to sort those descending. And that almost gets us there. And we just need to drag this 0 to 9 one down to the bottom, and that will turn that into a manual sort. And that is the population pyramid. So then we just need to tie it up with some formatting. We can remove these headers and remove the lines and so on. And that's how you create these pyramids and these population pyramids. So that is that demo. And if you want to have a closer look at any of the things in the workbook, you can download that. It's on my Tableau Public. And there's over 200 workbooks there you can download any of those. And I'll leave you with a few other resources as well. So have a number of mapping resources. It's something I like to experiment with. So there's a number of workbooks on there looking at buffers and map layers, make line, make point, etc. And there's some blogs to go along with that as well. And then I have a few video tutorials as well on my YouTube site. So again, looking at map layers, spatial joins, buffer functions, and a few other things. So hopefully there'll be some useful resources to get you started. And obviously there's hundreds of other resources in the community. So do look out for those as well. So that's it from me. Hopefully that was useful. I'll hand back to Agatha or Eric, and happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Yeah, that was great. I headed over to the to the website to see what kind of population density map data I could download. It's always fun to try to see this, to see all these different resources. It's great. I don't see any questions in the chat. Does anybody have any questions for Mark? All right, Eric has one for you. So what inspired the color palette for this for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a few color palettes I use quite a lot, which is one of them is Viridis and one is Plasma. The Plasma works better with a dark background, I find. So they're quite nice when you have a kind of a range of values, and some of them are quite disparate. So if you have a kind of, with this population spread, Seoul was very high and the other ones were quite low. So it helps to just kind of view that range of values a bit easier with this particular palette. So yeah, they're ones that I use quite a lot actually. They are, I don't think they are built into Tableau or something. You might have to import those, but they're used quite a lot, yeah, for maps.
So did you set those colors in Mapbox or in Tableau itself?
Yeah, so I actually have them in my, in your preferences file. You can bring them in there. So if you search for Viridis palette or Plasma palette, and I'm actually forgetting now, I think they actually might be in Tableau now in the more recent editions, so you can probably find them there. But if not, just search for the palettes online, pretty easy to find, and then you can just bring all those hex values into your preferences file. Or as I think someone mentioned earlier, actually you'll be able to do that directly in Tableau, which is great news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for that map, did you have to did you color the polygons in Tableau itself, or did you do that in Mapbox?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I did actually do that in Mapbox. So I think I demoed that briefly just with 2 colors, but you can actually change that to have a number of step functions. So I think I created maybe 10 steps and then just colored them manually at different set levels to match the Plasma palette as well. So the different population figures specific to South Korea. So it went up in the ranges. So it kind of replicated what you might do in your TPS file with the different colors there. I just did that in Mapbox as well.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Eric, wrap us up.
Back to me. So, all right, let me share. We've got a few things to go over. One of the things that I was really excited about from Tableau conference was the announcement of the Tableau Community Slack. If you haven't heard about it, I don't think I can present that. So yeah, go to this tableau.com community Slack/join to connect with it. Tableau used to have a great community on Twitter, and it seemed like you could reach almost anybody on Twitter. But that really fractured lately, and so people went to Blue Sky and LinkedIn, and there's no place that you can really get hold of, just everybody. And so they're really trying to position this Tableau Community Slack to be that space. So if you haven't joined, please go out and join. I believe all of the visionaries and ambassadors and all that will be joined as they move our communities over to that. So it'll be a great place to get hold of people that you want to ask specific question to. So yeah, I highly recommend that you go out and join. I was a little disappointed that they didn't play it up more at the keynote speech, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing in the long run for the Tableau community. All right. And if you want to have a Viz of the day, build a Viz that is timely and topical, highlights a new Tableau feature, spotlights the diverse Tableau community, includes a novel chart type or Tableau trick, communicates a key insight or story, or as we've seen with the Vizes today, make it visually stunning. I think we had that in spades today, so thank you, Mark and Rob. So we appreciate you joining today, and please tell everyone in the Data Fam to join us at the next Tableau Public Tug. We have canceled the June tug because everybody seemed to be on vacation and we couldn't get anybody to present. So our next tug will be in July, and Lisa will be with us. So join us in July. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.